Hello and welcome to Levercast. My name is Brian Crossguard. I am here with the one, the only, Josh Olsowich. What's up, Josh?
What is up, Mr. Brian? On this fine Friday, St. Patrick's Day, wearing a little green.
Happy St. Patrick's Day. I am wearing a green watch band.
What is that?
You know, I got pinched today, and it was a false pinch. It was not allowed because I'm wearing green watch band, and it counts.
Okay.
So, man, we haven't talked in a little bit, but maybe we should have just kept it that way because the market's doing great.
Yeah, I mean, what is there to say? What is there to say? Everything's totally normal, right? Nothing going on. Just a normal Friday where the Fed adds $300 billion to their balance sheet.
Yeah. So what is the latest in this Fed balance sheet situation? They bailed out the banks in a way. Since we've talked, I'm sure most people are up to date, but we'll try to distill it to talk about why it means something.
Well, where the question that people keep asking is like they want to blame somebody, and like they keep going further and further back. They're like, okay, it's the VCs caused the run. It's the bank for not managing things properly. It's the Fed for raising rates too quickly. It's the Fed for holding rates at zero for too long. It's the VCs again for raising all this money and having all these sweetheart deals with SVB. And of course, crypto gets sprinkled in there as a blame game over and over again. I see people and articles blaming crypto on this downturn for banks, specifically Silvergate and Signature. You know, it's like they were these puritanical banks that, oh my God, once they touched crypto, that was it. It was over.
All went downhill.
It's like reminds me of Reefer Madness or something, or like what's it called? When people stop drinking. I'm blanking on the term, but
when people stop
prohibition. It's like
prohibition.
The people during prohibition.
People did not stop drinking. They just stopped selling it legally.
No, they didn't. But I'm just saying, like this puritanical mindset of like banks are so pure. All they can do is this one thing. They do it so well. If it wasn't for crypto, they'd be totally fine right now.
I feel like the crypto component of that narrative is really weak.
It's a stretch. It's definitely a stretch. Now,
okay, so let's talk about what really happened, though.
Okay,
what really happened was rates went up a lot. Banks locked in for
not only a lot. They went up a lot fast.
That's what I mean. They went up a lot. Yeah,
the fast component
quickly.
What really screwed over banks?
But they locked in for mildly higher yield, long duration. And that created an environment where people, let's just like say no other demand, no run on liquidity, nothing else. People just say, hey, I could be getting 5%, 6%, 7% elsewhere. And over here, I'm only getting 1.5 or 1 or 0.5 or whatever. So they're just incentivized to peace out.
Right. But this, you could parallel this with DeFi perfectly. You could parallel this with.
I know it's the duration mismatch, no different than what BlockFi ran into. It's BlockFi Bank Edition.
Yes, but I was also alluding to like DeFi and stablecoins got so big in part because Tina, there is nothing else, right? That was the motto because rates were at zero. So people were looking for risk, just like the banks were looking for yield. So were people, and that's one reason why DeFi exploded along with stablecoins is because that yield was there.
And instead of going to maturity with those 1.5% bonds, they had to sell out of them, and in doing so, lost billions of dollars because it's not liquid enough to handle that because the bonds were repriced, I presume. So,
as rates go up, the value goes down.
Right. Yeah. So they take a loss on that as they try to make it liquid rather than take it the full duration of the bond. And there you have it. They take a big loss, and then you have deposits start to go away. And we all know this story because it's played out. And
well, I think so there was this chart floating around that the FDIC put out that showed the HTM, the held to maturity losses, if they were marked to market. I think that chart played a big role in people finally waking up. Now, there were people talking about SVB, too many S's. People talking about SVB way before it blew up. People talking about the HTM losses, these high duration losses.
Yeah.
So this isn't like anything super new, but it very much came into consciousness, and then people started freaking out. So
Right.
at the end of the day, I'm blaming the bank. I'm sorry.
I honestly thought, and this is what I've learned in this process, I thought the actual run on the bank was much harder to accomplish than it turned out. Turned out there's nothing really preventing the run on the bank. You know, like
Well,
still is
two great points were that the base of the depositors were mostly businesses,
right,
mostly over 250,000.
right.
And these are very high-tech clients who have ability to basically at a click of a button, move stuff around. So if as a pack they decide enough's enough, that's all she wrote. Welcome to banking in 2023.
Yeah,
So maybe banks should be a little bit more liquid. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it makes sense. The information flow, somebody was talking about this, how they expected more runs to happen more easily because of how fast information flows. It makes it to where it encourages this to be more typical.
Right, and the banks need to adapt. It's not you can't blame the depositors for being scared that their money isn't going to be insured. We're already seeing it. We're seeing regional banks lose a ton of deposits to the top 5 banks.
Yeah. Well, when was the last time FDIC insurance went up? 2008 crisis.
2008. Yeah.
But it should be different between an individual bank account and a business bank account anyway. Like it's kind of obscene. Like a business typically is going to carry 10 times that amount of money in cash, even if modest business. So think about larger businesses, the number of banking relationships you'd have to have. It's kind of stupid. So that obviously,
yeah, but there are ways. Again, like everybody wants to take away everyone's agency for like being risk prudent. Like look, there are ways for these people with millions of dollars in business accounts to figure it out. Okay, like there are ways to get it done. Is it pretty? No, but there are programs and sweep accounts and blah 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 that you don't just like close your eyes and say, oh, I hope the bank's doing totally fine forever because I got $1 million there and only a quarter of that is insured or whatever. Somebody has to take responsibility for something, and I'm just not seeing it. Everyone's just blaming everyone else. Nothing's going to get done.
Yeah, I'm not saying about this situation. I'm saying in terms of what should be backstopped or insured,
right,
under FDIC.
I don't even know if raising FDIC, like, it makes sense in theory. Like maybe it's inflation adjusted or something. I don't know, but what good does that even do? Does it keep money in regional banks at the end of the day? I don't know. I don't think it does. Well, that might keep a larger proportion, but
yeah, I think keeping money better spread out amongst regional banks is a good thing, and I think that should be encouraged. And what's being encouraged right now is get money out of everything except for these systematically important banks,
right?
SIBs, and those are the only. I mean, I've heard a number of stories about how many billions, or like just forget the raw numbers of billions, like how many multiples of typical flows those big banks are seeing on inbound. And
I saw some
that money
headline,
is
they didn't even know. They didn't even know how much they got in deposits.
Yeah. I mean, it's just that's got to be putting a massive liquidity crunch on all the little ones, smaller ones, mid-sized ones, whatever. Even the ones that maybe aren't at as big of a risk. Like all of a sudden you see all these outflows and it's a problem.
Well, that was a part of the reason why First Republic is having so much problems, because they did not qualify for BTFP, as far as I can tell.
Which is a great name.
And they had to seek capital elsewhere, right? If that's the government helping banks connect to each other, saying we're going to give you 30 billion to figure stuff out, whatever happened. But that was one of the reasons why that they still continue to not do well. rumors that they're going to be sold off. Like 50 to 60% of their total accounts were business, private equity, VC. There's some regional relation to SVB there, but you shouldn't, as a bank, should you be taking high duration risk in a risky client base? You're basically just saying like, this money, we think this money is going to stay here for 5 to 10 years plus by taking that duration risk.
Right.
When that's just not reality. So I don't.
Yeah. Well, so what we're seeing here, Josh, fun traditional market trading environment, because you've got dollar down, stocks down, yields down, gold up, Bitcoin up. Like, what? People calling the Fed's bluff here on yields, right?
Big time, especially the 2-year, which is I
2
think
years.
what everybody's looking at.
I had the 2-year up here at the beginning, but I put it back.
Those moves in the 2-year are not normal. That's like penny stock stuff.
It's like COVID level stuff.
Yeah.
So that's crisis mode. I saw it was some very, very high sigma event. Takes me back to
three sigma.
It was 3 sigma event.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not good. But it was like something. It was somebody was talking about the actual volatility relative to historical events and how many times it happened. It's very, very rare what's occurring.
Well, before last week, we go from a 50 basis point hike, almost guaranteed, to are we going to even hike 25 anymore?
Yeah.
And there's some parallel universe where SVB doesn't get bailed out. Not SVB, but depositors don't get bailed out. And we still raise 50. Like, could you imagine what that would look like?
Well, yeah.
I would love for that to happen, but that's not the world we live in. But they're probably still going to hike, because if they don't hike 25, then that signals, I think, that there's a major problem. And maybe there is a major problem, but maybe coming out and like making people think there isn't a major problem is better than actually admitting that there's a major problem. So yeah. Markets are pricing in at 25. I think it's going to be at 25. And then after that, they might just hold it there. And markets are pricing in cuts after that. So that's what the 2 years reflecting. The 2 years reflecting they think the Fed's going to have to pivot.
Yeah. So for that First Republic Bank, it was 11 banks that made the $30 billion of deposits to show support.
Well, that's the irony. All of the deposits that fled into the bigger banks ended up back into First Republic through this loan thing. It's just too funny.
Yeah.
So one last thing about First Republic. I did see an interesting idea where somebody was saying like the money in the Treasury General account could be used to provide liquidity to the banks by like putting that liquidity into the regional banks versus wherever it's sitting now. Just an interesting thought. Apparently this has been a thing in the past, but I didn't really read too much about it. But anyway.
Yeah, I don't
know. And the other thing people keep telling me, and I keep reading, all these macro people are like, no, this isn't contagion risk. This isn't 2008, right? This isn't credit risk or anything. That may be true, but these banks are kind of failing for different reasons. And that's the scary part. And then we go to Credit Suisse, and that's just a whole nother issue entirely. But
yeah. Macroscope posted, if you think the Fed has been criticized before, wait till you see the public outrage if they raise into a recession and widespread job losses soon after bailing out rich depositors.
Yeah.
I think the political component there is reasonable. I don't really agree with a lot of stuff that this Macroscope person says, but I think when you're like immediately there for the banks, but then you see inflation still strong, people having like really losing a lot of buying power. It's what are you gonna choose in this difficult spot? Are you gonna sacrifice the currency or and give into inflation? Or are you gonna hold strong to try to crush inflation to maintain the currency and crush people instead?
Well, at the end of the day, the Fed did this to themselves by waiting to raise Way too long.
They did two things. They waited to raise, and then they raised really, really hard and fast. And I understand why, but this is raise until you break things. Well, you broke things. Congrats. Like in my mind, clearly something was broken. Now it's a matter of how do you handle the breaking of things.
Yeah, and they said they have tools they can use if we go too far. I don't know if they've gone too far, but things are breaking.
Yeah.
The question is like, is this enough? Is financial stability more important than inflation? I don't know. That doesn't sound like a great trade-off either way.
Before we get into Bitcoin,
we're like, what are we, 10 minutes in? Haven't even mentioned digital assets.
Well, I think it's just worth what crypto is doing is just derivative of all this other stuff. People are flocking to gold. Like this is a lot of flow for gold, and gold looks really good. Silver too, metals. Oil does not, which is interesting. At the same time, by the way, the VIX got as high as 30, which is kind of the high end of its range without being crisis level.
Well, that's how you know we're doing well in BTC land. And VIX is up and we're way up. I mean, then there's something really going on.
Right. And this is where there is a shift occurring. We talk about this sometimes where it's like you just start seeing suddenly a bunch of correlations change and like just completely twist based on what's occurring in the world. Yields way down, stocks down, metals up, Bitcoin up. Like this pretty clearly looks to me like a shift towards hard money and banking on the fact that the Fed is going to capitulate some, or deal with a crisis, or that it's good. It's a strong case for continued weakening of the dollar, in my opinion. But
well, here's the other thing about the Fed. Jerome Powell was just in front of the Senate and the House last week, or the week before, whatever it was, saying everything's fine. There's no risk anywhere. And now on the 22nd, he's going to have to come out and say something to the effect of, we were blindsided. He's not going to say that, but that meeting is going to be very interesting to see what the journalists actually ask him, what he answers,
and how they spin it.
Yeah, and how they spin it.
Just this monthly gold chart, like this is one of the best charts I've ever seen. Like isolated, yes, I understand.
Outside of the time frame, though, it looks great. But then you realize it's the monthly, and you're like, okay.
I know, I get that. Like it could take a while. I'm not saying it's
a while. It could take years. 2 years for that to actually, but it does look good.
It looks so good. Like pretty much every time frame, I love it. Actually, not pretty much every time frame. Every time frame, I love it. But I will say the one that gets me the most interested is the monthly. It just looks like it wants to super cycle to me, like this goes back to 2011, that prior high. So it's been building this setup for 12 plus years.
It looks great. I mean, you can't deny it. It's just, is it going to move faster than crypto or?
No, I'm not. I'm not trying to say that it will. I just,
diversified portfolio, NFA. I think it's a great addition.
Yeah. Like if you were to, it's not the button I was looking to press.
We've gone over this before. What does that measure to?
A lot.
That's what you're probably about to do.
Yeah.
2,500.
2,500 just for the initial move, really, is what I would expect.
I think that's perfectly reasonable.
Anyway, I think it's gold's time. And what's funny is like a lot of gold bugs really did capitulate. They were so annoyed seeing inflation do stuff and seeing gold do so poorly. And I think like so many of them have given in. Probably not well positioned.
To be fair, that's what we kind of saw with BTC when SVB went under. Bitcoin dropped pretty hard, to 20K, and then they announced government action, and then it reversed course.
Yeah.
So again, in a parallel world, I would love to have seen what would actually happen
Yeah.
The government doesn't intervene. Does everything just go to zero? What happens?
Yeah. So let's get into the coins.
The corns.
Really just the corn, not even so much the coins. And that's story number one on the crypto side of things is Bitcoin's doing its thing and pretty much everything else is lagging. That's not universal. It's never universal, but for the most part, everything else is lagging.
The narrative is just so strong for Bitcoin here.
Yeah. ETH is doing well, but it's not keeping pace. That's just the fact of the matter. Bitcoin has clearly broken out of multiple things, depending on how you want to look at it. If you want to look at candle bodies, if you want to look at wicks in terms of horizontal levels on a weekly and daily basis, if you look at the weekly 200-day move or 200-week moving average, which is my North Star, just an engulfing candle. Presuming that we don't get below, I don't know, like 25K before the Sunday weekly close, then this will end up being an extremely productive week. And I think in my mind, it looks well on tap to just go ahead and make the move that we've been talking about for quite some time, like the 30 to 33K type of thing.
What was that? 33K?
Yeah, 33K by July. We did say it. We also talked about, we talked about it.
Unironically, though, we could actually easily 33K by July. Like we're so ahead of schedule. It's not even
4
Q2.
months ahead of schedule.
It's not even Q2 yet.
Yeah.
We made it this massive multi-month range. FTX happened and we puked lower. We recovered from that. Bunch of tax loss harvesting into the new year, recovered from that. This ordinal stuff happens, which it's whatever, right? In any bear market, any narrative anything has is bullish in my book. And then we have an actual real deal meat space crisis.
Space crisis.
Yeah, that's what this show is going to be titled.
No, I already titled it "Number Go Up." I'm not changing. I'm too lazy.
Okay, fine. Sorry.
Number didn't advance. Although meat space crisis is good.
So it's either
all these digital space crises lately. So we need a meat space crisis.
It's either some sort of inverted head and shoulders breakout. At the very least, it's a range breakout at 25K. Like you said, we're above anything that matters as far as resistance. The yearly pivot is also right here at 26.8.
Oh, nice.
Cloud has been bullish since January 13th. I don't know. There's not much else to really look for as far as resistance until the 30s, because that's where the move measures too.
Yeah, there's some major resistance in the 30s. I will say that.
Now there is some weird chart pattern here, this like megaphone thing that a lot of people have been mentioning, and I think it's very real. But
wait, what?
If you take the diagonals
like this, like a wedge, or you
go to like the daily. Somebody on Twitter got angry at me that I'm not sharing my screen, and we've tried that, but for some reason my whole computer just freezes up.
Yeah,
so just take the diagonal from today's high to I
got all kinds of crap in there.
January's high.
All right, January, like this. Oh, I see.
Yeah, and then the other diag pointing down from
yeah.
This is like painting on stream. Anyway, there is some case to be made for that. I just think right here, whatever's going on, whether it's Asia buying, which it is based on the session time frame where we're seeing momentum, or it's US stuff, or people just buying because they think other people are like, I don't even care what it is. Like
people buying because other people are buying is like always the best reason. I don't mean that sarcastically. I'm serious.
No, I mean, like I said the other day when SVB failed, like, am I jumping to sell my Bitcoin when there's a bank run? Of course not. Get the heck out of here. It's just silly. Like, so yeah, this is why we were here. This is literally why we exist, is because the banks were having trouble in 08 and everything was melting down. So is there a better like narrative product market fit than that?
if not now, then when?
Yeah.
Also, a component here that's super relevant. You're talking about paper. Did you say that on the show, or was that before?
I was in pre-show, the secret pre-show for the premium members.
Yeah. The paper nickel out there. There's fake
not even paper, stone nickel.
Fake nickel rocks in some depository.
Oh, sorry, it's not nickel, it's silver. It's silver.
Silver.
Whatever. The story's
No, it was also nickel, dude.
Was it nickel?
Yeah. I gotta look it up.
And this is after like 1 or 2 weeks ago when the Perth Mint in Australia got caught doping their gold below 99.99%. And they had to send like 9 billion back from China to get remelted.
The London Metal Exchange has discovered bags of stones instead of the nickel that underpinned a small handful of its contracts at a warehouse in Rotterdam. So anyway,
not your nickel, not your coins, or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know how you say it when it's rocks. But anyway, so you were talking about maybe the demand for physical gold instead of paper gold. I'm not quite there yet.
I sound like a massive like Kitco boomer for people who know what that is, but
yeah,
I don't know. Seeing stuff like this like doesn't give me faith in like paper traded futures or whatever.
Yeah. To be fair, I don't actually own gold. I own gold miners, so I guess that's actually a little better because I'm not worried about the custody. But back to Bitcoin, if you have your own Bitcoin keys and stuff, and you're not on an exchange being rehypothecated by Sam, then that is obviously a very compelling argument for what to own in terms of a hard asset. So the narrative for Bitcoin is fantastic here. The narrative for ETH is also fantastic in my opinion, but I think Bitcoin needs a moment. I'm not going to deny that whatsoever. So
I think ETH is really having trouble shaking the regulatory stuff. Whether or not you want to believe it, whether or not you care about Gary Gensler in the United States, if you're overseas, there is some question whether or not something's going to come down about ETH being a security and whatever, yada, yada, yada. So I think there's some hesitation there from people. Additionally, the Shanghai unlock is coming in a month-ish.
Yeah. There's a little more localized narrative challenge for ETH, that there might be some sell the news types of events, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
None of it's that important to me, but I could totally imagine Bitcoin running with it in the meantime.
Well, I also think these layer 2s, which everyone keeps asking about in the chat and on Twitter, like, I don't know what these airdrops are going to be priced at. I don't care. Like, you get an airdrop, you sell it, you move on with your life. I don't know what else to tell you. NFA, okay. But they are kind of stealing the attention in Thunder. And staking ETH is kind of boring, ETH has always been this exciting thing where you like do stuff with it, but putting it in a place and hodling it, that's Bitcoin's thing. What is it called? The digital rock.
Yeah.
ETH has kind of turned into that, right?
True.
I don't think the airdrop is live yet, is it?
I thought the coin launched, but the airdrop hadn't.
Oh, that might be the case. I haven't really been following.
No, I don't think it has. I haven't either. They didn't give me allocation, so why should I care?
Fair enough.
No, just kidding. I'm very bullish on layer 2s for Ethereum. So I met the Arbitrum CEO. He was very nice. Arbitrum Labs, Off-Chain Labs. Sorry, probably not allowed to say Arbitrum CEO. Off-Chain Labs CEO.
You just wrote yourself a lawsuit on that
one. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a little bit more shaky stuff for Ethereum potentially. No, I did not meet Size Chad, not yet. I don't know how I haven't, but anyway.
Well, it's a value accrual question. I've said this somewhere many times. if all the activity's on layer 2s, isn't that where all the value goes? It's like just a dumb non-method
no, I think
hypothesis, but
no, all the layer 2s are inheriting ETH layer 1 security, and the demand for layer 1 block space is going to be pretty high, in my opinion.
don't you need like several multiples of transactional activity for that to trickle down into ETH?
I don't care. I think that's fine.
Right, but we're not there yet.
Lot. ETH is so far ahead of Bitcoin in terms of
whoa, hold on.
In terms of sustainable scalability.
Oh, you think?
I know. I don't have to
Right.
think. Like a handful of JPEGs completely broke Bitcoin.
I don't know about that. I wouldn't agree with that statement.
That's what I heard.
That's what you heard.
I heard some of the Lightning Wallet people were like freaking out, like, oh my gosh, we have more than 10 users. We can't do it. It's going to break.
Okay. That's not what I heard. The problem with ETH, like, again, it's staking. DeFi is effectively dead. Let's be real here until rates come down. Because if you think the risk-free rate on ETH is staking, the IRL risk-free rate is way higher than that. And why do anything on ETH at all, right? You have to go so far down the risk curve that it just makes it not worth it for a lot of people. That's my problem. That's my problem with ETH right now. And ICO is obviously long dead, but NFTs as well, in my opinion, my humble opinion,
are what, dead?
Aren't dead, but they've certainly dropped off as far as let's say popularity or something, some metric based on activity.
I don't know, man. I see a lot going on.
I mean, you're in the industry, of course. You see it.
Well, I might be too close, you know.
That's fair. No, I'm glad you admitted it. I wasn't going to say it, but you said it. I'm proud of you. The ETH chart looks fine though, right?
It looks great.
I just don't think, like, it'll catch up eventually. ETH BTC is kind of getting slaughtered here.
Oh yeah, ETH BTC looks real bad. Although that squiggle's still there. You see that?
Yeah, I like the 200 EMA. It's the weekly cloud level too. It's like 055. I think you have it on there for some reason.
Because
I like that.
It goes back to 2018 magnet that we've literally been talking about 0.055 as an important level since 2018's. Actually, it was August 2018. It broke down from it, but ever since then, I've viewed this little spot right here as just an important zone, just like these up here. 0.1, 0.14, 0.055. And to me, 0.055 is kind of the line in the sand in terms of you really need to see a lot of ETH get bought relative to Bitcoin in that zone. But it's part of the range trade that I think could absolutely occur. If I just get rid of all the drawings. I mean, that's a healthy breakdown of that multi-month consolidation that occurred.
Mm-hmm.
Realistically, it should continue that breakdown, right? Like it should. That said, many a time have we tried to predict this thing actually getting out of the range. It loves to stay in the range. So I don't know. I'm not full of ideas on this. I'm open-minded in terms of what can happen.
Well, I feel like it'll puke into Shanghai because people are expecting it to anyway.
Yeah, maybe bottom with Shanghai.
Yeah, I think that's a very real possibility.
Somebody asked, what is Shanghai? Josh, what is the date of Shanghai as well? Do we know that? It's April something?
I think it's mid-April.
Yeah.
Shanghai is when the staked ETH will be able to be unlocked, barring any unforeseen consequences up until then. It was tested on Goerli, which is a test net. And as far as I can tell, it went fine. So it should be all steam ahead for the next hard fork, which is in April, Shanghai.
Yeah.
There's a lot of I've seen so many different people trying to research and model out only so much ETH can leave, blah, blah, blah. I don't even think that matters. All that matters is supply is being unlocked End of story. Let it happen. Let it get puked out. Let all the people sell, and then we'll figure it out in like June or something. What's going on with ETH? You just need that event to be done and over with.
Yeah, it's putting uncertainty behind you.
Yeah, exactly. Then you just have the regulatory, is this thing a security? Is it going to get delisted in all US exchanges? Problem in front of you.
Which I think is a complete absurdity for Ethereum.
It's absurd, but we might see it.
So
you never know.
That's the one component we didn't really spend that much time on. Nick Carter's going hard on this about this being kind of a concerted effort to crush crypto banking and also just lay the groundwork for the US to just say screw you to the entire crypto industry. Are you in or out on that as there's a concerted effort? Your sound went away.
Sorry, that's on me. Sorry. I said I agree with him. He was way out in front of it. There are some interesting things happening that I can't really discuss, but not like a conspiracy theory, but there's some unusual, questioning from like authorities about crypto activity and things like that. It certainly feels that way.
I think so too. I think it's much more of a concerted effort than I would have ever anticipated.
And I think the whole SBNY situation, I think they were both like poorly managed, maybe not above board on certain things, and also were targeted because of Signet or crypto involvement, right? Like it was a very easy conversation to try to shut them down.
I showed the wrong one. I don't normally highlight comments, but AS says in the chat, nothing in the government is that coordinated. That's almost always my personal belief as well. Like the government is too incompetent to create a conspiracy. But there's a lot of weird like co-alignment going on. And it may be independent departments all kind of finally getting to it like way late, and they're all just getting there at the same time because they all move really slow after some period when they intended to do it, and then now finally it's a good time to pile on or something like that. And so it feels coordinated, even though it's more of a hive mind, or not quite hive mind coordination. Just independent like staking of the like staking out like boundaries, like, hey, we want to have our jurisdiction here, we want to have our jurisdiction here, or this is for us. That's kind of what I think, but it's also just feels very convenient the way it's all coming together, and also very stupid and short-sighted. Like crypto banking shutting down the biggest banks, and if you're partly motivated from the crypto regulatory side of things, especially the one with Signature Bank, which is what Nick talked about the most, that's really dumb, like really dumb. And if anything, it makes crypto type people want crypto more. And like if the number goes up, then other people also want crypto. Yeah, I think the U.S. is going to struggle with this battle.
Well, it helps our cause. There's like it's a David and Goliath thing, right? Where there's like this big monster behemoth that's trying to shut you down, and everyone sees that there's a party in the lawn next door, and you're like, what's going on over there?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it doesn't make me want to like get rid of crypto because the US wants to crack down on it. I'm like, it makes me want to maintain like solid crypto exposure, which means majors to me. And it makes me very bearish on US monetary systems, to be honest. Because it's kind of like they're scared of you and now they're starting to fight.
Well, I feel like it's a generational thing, 100%.
Yeah.
And eventually that generational average will shift, and that's it. That's the end of the fight, Yeah. But yeah, ETH still looks okay. Back to the prices.
Yeah.
Where can ETH go? I still like 2,000 on ETH, easy.
I like 2,500. This little congestion zone up here.
The other thing I want to mitigate against myself is like selling too early into a rally. That, like, is it too early to rally multiple months based on where we came from last year?
No.
I don't think so. If you look at like previous cycles, it is pretty early for us to actually get going again.
Yeah, for like full hype cycle. But I mean, if you look at this, there was a lot of pain after that
Right.
move up.
Well, that was also literally a Ponzi. So
well, nothing changes. So
I was just saying, like, not that Bitcoin was a Ponzi at that time, but
it
a
was a
Ponzi
plus
scheme was
token.
buying. Right.
Was it
Right.
plus token?
Plus token, yeah. We're also, relative to having, we're, like a year plus out, end of April. I don't know. It's an awkward time relative to where we were. I think like the double top extension of that high kind of messes up all the math because
Right.
we've never
This was
double
all
topped like that before.
this was all fake.
You could argue that was all 3AC nonsense,
Not just
and
NFTX.
FTX, yeah, for sure.
Like, because this is where, I mean, when Bitcoin recovered in July, Bitcoin double topped, but all of the like SAM ecosystem stuff went 10x from there,
Yeah.
So all like the cycle probably should have ended when Coinbase went public. That's what that wick was. Remember that? That's what that wick was. April 2021. That was Coinbase going public, wasn't it?
I believe you. I just remember selling on that large down candle. I sold a bunch.
This one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it looks like the end of the cycle.
It was a cloud EDE. It was out of the 20-week moving average. But yeah, it didn't look like we were going to go again. Sure.
Yeah. And so this whole recovery, in my mind, it just felt weird. It was like a year-long altcoin bull market. Trust me, I'm thankful, but it was weird. Anyway, so I think a lot of the timing stuff probably 2021 was kind of like a weird extension beyond what it normally would be based on like a halving cycle. And
2022. Yeah.
2022. So I don't know what the answer is. I think probably.
Well, I like that we sat flat. I like that more things blew up and we didn't keep going down. I like that we have the tax narrative behind us, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, it looks like a rounded bottom to me.
Yeah. I think 21 to 25 was not a great place to take a trade from. I actually think with this weekly close, it might be a great place to take a trade from, right? Like, I'm actually interested in increasing my exposure over the coming days because 25 to 30 something is a pretty high confidence trade for me. Presuming we, end the week decently, I want to be a dip buyer if it comes back to that 200 week. Like the way that I trade would say, all right, especially if it closes aggressively, any dip after that, like some 10% down day based on news or whatever, try to gobble that up, 25K, 25.5, something like that, and then increase exposure for that move to 30 to 33 or something like that. It's not a big trade, but it's a trade, and it's a relatively high confidence trade.
Yeah, the issue here is we are, we have to go down the time frames to like see anything. We're moving super fast. It's
right.
A lot of it's event/news, whatever, but you always have to be careful making any long-term trades off of like low time frame stuff.
Well, that's why I'm not talking about a long time frame
right.
trade.
I'm just saying, like, yeah, we broke all these levels. That's great, but at the same time, like, I would just be cautious.
Yeah, I think for a long time frame trade, you still just take it nice and easy. And the difference between buying 20K and 25K and 28K won't feel that different.
Yeah, I mean, there's already people talking about six figures again, so there's that.
I heard there was a bet for Bitcoin being worth $1 million in 90 days. Did you see this?
Balaji?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it. Look, I'll be a very happy man if that's the case, but I think the world would not be in a happy place.
I don't think you'd be happy because I think the world would be in big trouble.
Yeah.
In terms of the long-term trades, I think the long-term trade to make here for me and myself is I'm not looking for long-term entries in non-ETH and BTC.
No doodles for you?
No. No. I mean, I like some JPEGs, but like I'm not holding my JPEGs as like this severe store value trade. I think if I'm looking to create long-term value or see long-term value right now, a lot of the altcoin down the market altcoin stuff still feels a lot like a tech stock feels to me, and I'm more interested in kind of the hard money trade.
You're more interested in the Microsoft and the Amazon
Yeah,
than you are in the DoorDash or the Carvana.
That's exactly right.
It's also worth noting that Bitcoin's outperforming the S&P,
everything.
the NASDAQ. It's outperforming any analog relative to itself.
And once again, the mockery of the ecosystem marks pretty much Pico bottom.
Right.
I will say the stock market looks like trash to me. Even the S&P.
I mean, it doesn't look great. It doesn't look turbo bearish to me. It's still in the range.
No,
right?
it's in the range, but I just this range is looking uglier in my mind, and I can
still play out as an inverted head and shoulders if they start easing.
Yeah, it could, and you know the NASDAQ did a lot better than the S&P and the Russell this week.
We could also it could be a lost decade, right? Just flat for 10 years.
Yeah, I truly think so.
Like the 70s.
Yeah, and that's why I actually changed some of our retirement account exposure. It's not a majority of our like net worth or anything, but I put it in a blend of short-term treasury stuff and gold miners. So I kind of exited the stock market from a retirement account perspective. I'm not feeling it. I don't really feel like there's good upside there.
That's fair. I don't know. It's all about the cryptocurrencies, the Bitcoin.
Yep. And I think I think there's some really interesting stuff to happen here between like crypto's going to become a grown up this decade, like this type of crisis you see like, okay, well, this is what it was built for, that kind of argument. So let's see what it does in the environment that it's built for. When you have a potential currency crisis, worldwide currency crisis, by the way, in terms of where that banking crisis is extending, what we're really seeing is what's happening with, Credit Suisse and Deutsche Bank and the European banks. Are they going to have people step in the way that they are in the US? We don't know.
Well, Credit Suisse 100%, but some of these others, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I agree. I don't like anything else other than BTC and ETH, and I barely like ETH here, but it should move eventually.
Yeah. I think it would there's a really funny trade potential here for if Bitcoin just rips. Like it's the one environment that just would not surprise me whatsoever. A lot of people would get left in the dust. I can't give credit, and I apologize. I don't remember who it was. They're talking about how like really high market cap coins are not participating, and they were showing Doge, and it was like ETH way up here, Bitcoin way up here, ETH a little bit lagging, and Doge at like plus 10% on the year, whereas those are like plus 60 something and plus 50 something percent on the year.
I mean, look, people buying those coins, sorry, they're busy paying $10 for a bag of bread. They're not.
That's exactly my point. I think they're going to get left in the dust.
Yeah.
I think all of that, like retail stuff that they're like, oh, I'm in crypto, I'm going to be in good shape. My Dogecoin or my Solana is going to be fine. And I don't think it's going to be fine. I don't think it's going to play well for them. And you're going to get a whole
We'll pull up dominance real quick. Bitcoin dominance.
Is it still BTCD?
Yeah. It's .d. Yeah, there you go.
Like,
Oof.
I think this trade has a lot of room.
I agree. It's top of the range. It's multi-month range. It looks really good. Looks really good. Nature is healing.
And this is including stables too, right?
Yeah. And we didn't even talk about USDC.
No, we did. I mean,
Man, SVB bailout, the depositor bailout saved USDC. Like they would have eventually been okay, but
y'all can watch Weekly Open if you want to get my thoughts on it. But I was never scared. Just gonna say that I was never afraid. It was fine.
I think there's a place where they're always okay. It's just timing, duration, But once they got bailed out, that was it. They're fine. They're totally fine.
Yeah.
But it's good to see the karma swing back around because they're always talking shit about Tether and everybody else. It's like, well, guess what?
I legit think Circle in a high interest rate environment might be one of the most amazing businesses on earth. Like offering US dollar liquidity to the world with massive interest bearing capacity and rake. It's genius. Great business model.
But they have the same issue that SVB had. They have the potential for these huge swings in circulating and AUM, right?
Yeah, but almost all their stuff is like really short term, like matures in like a month or two.
Right, but that may limit them in different environments. They're printing money regardless, even though they're still not profitable somehow, I think. But
that's weird. Well, anyway, dominance looks amazing. I think plus
Bitcoin is so hot right now.
I think 50% dominance. Basically, just go hit this weekly.
Yeah, 50% plus. Looks very, very reasonable.
53. Sorry for your altcoins. Sorry for your JPEGs. Sorry for your stable coins. Bitcoin, take the wheel. I've had a lot of people mention my old tweet about Bitcoin having its day. I made a cringy dominance tweet that Kobe made fun of me for in like 2021. I forget what it even says. It's really cringy. Somebody in the chat will probably remember it, but I've had a lot of people quoting it recently. The true roar of Bitcoin, that's what it was. Thank you. Oh gosh, it's bad. It's a bad tweet. I'm gonna go find it. I'll shame myself on
Kevin's right. Max Pain is if the maxis were actually correct. That is indeed Max Pain.
Oh yeah, I said this is super cringy. I said, "Here you pleb." Here, I'll just read it. I'll read it for y'all. Little ASMR Bitcoin dominance tweet. Here you pleb. You do not know the true roar of Bitcoin. Preserve your strength. The time will come.
that is very
a bad
cringe.
tweet. That's a bad tweet. I was at the time, to be fair, I was looking at Bitcoin thinking it was going to just go straight to the moon. But Sam had other ideas. He was selling his Bitcoin at that time. That was like 10 months into an alt season type of thing. Anyway.
Sam can't do that anymore, though.
No, he can't.
Unfortunate.
Not from a flip. Not from a flip phone.
He is just so upset right now watching Bitcoin rally with everything else not up as much. Oh well.
Yeah, this is funny. I'm logged in as myself, and it's recommending me. Come on, Elon. All right.
Interesting.
Josh, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Catch up soon.
Good talking with you.
Thanks, chat. Appreciate y'all. Like and subscribe. That kind of stuff.
Do the
Talk
thing.
to you later.
Bye. People.
Yeah.
Monuments crumble in the blink of an eye. The easy river has just run dry. In a house of cards, I feel the breeze wound so tight I can barely breathe. Oh, the chains. Oh, the chains.